She was curled up in the corner of the cage, her arms around her knees, her back against the cold metal wall. Her skin blue-gray with faint glowing veins was covered in bruises and dirt. Her hair hung in tangled ropes, and her eyes, once bright like starlight, now looked dim. The air smelled like blood and metal. Screams echoed from other cages, growls, claws scraping steel. Creatures were locked in pens, monsters bred to fight and die for someone else's entertainment. And in the lowest pit of that arena, the alien girl waited to die. She didn't know how many days had passed. She had stopped counting. Her body was weak. Her mind was fading. No food for 2 days. No water since morning. Her arms shook when she moved. Her lips cracked when she tried to speak. But no one listened anyway. They all thought she was broken, flawed, a mistake. The guards called her half-breed. They didn't even use her real name. She had once come from a noble line, part Cytheri, part unknown. But that didn't matter here. Her stepfather had sold her to the arena owners, claiming she was cursed, and now was just another living thing in a cage. But smaller, weaker, useless. They didn't make her fight. Not yet. The crowd didn't want her. She wasn't fierce. She didn't roar or strike the cage bars. She just sat in silence, waiting for the day they'd open the gate and throw her into the pit with the others. That day, she thought, was today. Footsteps heavy. Boots on metal stairs. Voices deep, rough, laughing. She didn't lift her head. She had learned not to. 2 guards walked down to her cage, dragging something behind them. A creature twice her size, covered in spikes and drooling acid, was tossed into the cage across from hers. It roared and slammed against the bars. She didn't move. Then came a third voice, new, calm. Human, I'll take that one. The girl blinked, barely understanding the words. The human was pointing at her. The guards burst out laughing. You serious? She's not even worth the oxygen, just bones and fear. But the human didn't laugh. He stepped closer, pulled out a small credit chip and said, I'll give you everything I have. The guards looked at each other, shrugged. Fine, take her. You're wasting your money. The cage door opened for the first time in weeks. Bright light hit her eyes. Her body flinched. She tried to stand, but her legs gave out. She waited for pain, but instead, gentle hands touched her shoulders, lifted her carefully, wrapped her in a blanket. She was light as paper. The human, he smelled like old leather, and engine oil didn't. Speak. He just held her close, as if she mattered, and the monsters laughed again. Why save that thing? One growled, she's already half dead. She'll never make it out the gates. But the human didn't stop. He carried her past them all, past the cells, past the pits, past the death. She couldn't see clearly, but she heard it, his voice. Soft and firm, you're not trash. And her weak heart beat once, just once, with something strange, hope, inside the cargo ship. It was warm. She was placed gently on a soft bed. Clean water touched her lips. Real food, hot, fresh, was offered. She didn't speak. She didn't understand. No one had been kind to her since. She didn't even remember when the human tried to check her injuries. She flinched, shaking her head. He backed away immediately. No one will touch you without your word, he said. Then he sat in the corner of the room and let her sleep. For the first time in weeks, her body rested without fear. She awoke in the middle of the night, gasping, nightmares, monsters' claws, blood. But when she opened her eyes, there was no cage, no chains, no guards, just the soft hum of a ship and a blanket around her. She turned her head. The human was still there, awake, watching the stars from the window. In a hoarse voice, she whispered, "Why?" He looked over. "You were dying," he said, "and no one cared." "But I'm nothing." He shook his head. "Not to me." She didn't cry. She couldn't. But something warm moved in her chest, a feeling she didn't understand. Safety. That couldn't be real. She was just waiting to be thrown away again, but deep inside, one thought echoed through her tired mind. What if? Not this time. She opened her eyes slowly. No chains, No cold floor, no screams. Just a soft bed beneath her, quiet hum in the air, and the smell of clean air mixed with something warm food. The alien girl blinked, unsure if she was dreaming. She turned her head carefully. Her body still ached. Her arms trembled. But she was not in a cage anymore. She was on a ship. A human ship. And for the first time in her memory, no one was yelling at her. No one was watching her like a thing. She was alone. The silence. And it scared her more than the monsters ever did. She tried to sit up. A pain shot through her side. A soft voice came from across the room. Don't. Push yourself. She froze. It was him. It's the human. The one who had carried her out of that place. He was sitting in the corner of the room, legs crossed, eyes tired but calm. His name, she had learned quietly, was Kane. He looked like no Hiradusti. Boots, an old brown jacket, a half-healed scar across his jaw. He had done something no one else ever did. He saw her, and he chose not to walk away. She looked at him, then whispered, "Why? Why didn't you leave me?" He didn't answer right away. Then softly he said, "Because no one should die in a cage." She lowered her eyes. "I was going to die anyway." "No," Kane replied. "Not anymore." She slept again, but not deeply. Dreams came of claws, of screaming, of being dragged by her arms and thrown into darkness. She woke gasping, her hands shaking. Kane didn't move. He just said, "It takes time." Days passed. He fed her small meals, gave her medicine, let her rest. And slowly, very slowly, she began to heal. Her bruises faded. Her voice grew stronger. She could walk a few steps now without falling, but something inside her still felt broken. She had lived her whole life being told she was nothing, a creature, a defect. Now Kane was showing her kindness. But she didn't understand it. Did he want something? Is this another trick? Her kind had always been used. She had been sold, abandoned, cursed. Why was this human different? One day she looked at him and asked, "What do you want from me?" Kane blinked. Nothing. No payment? No. No loyalty? No. Then, "Why?" He smiled, just a little. "You remind me of someone." She looked away. She didn't ask who. She didn't know how to, but a part of her wondered if for once kindness didn't need a reason. Later that night, she stood in front of the ship's mirror. She looked at her reflection, her face still thin, her eyes too large. Her blue-gray skin strange to many. Small, glowing marks moved faintly along her collarbone, part of her hybrid bloodline. She touched them. She had always been punished for those marks. Now she wondered, what if they meant something else? Kane sat in the control room, going over the ship's scans, but something was wrong. There was a faint signal following them. Small, almost, silent, but definitely there. A tracker. His jaw tightened. Back in the cage, her collar had a hidden Tech-Japan old Empire model. Someone was using it to follow them. They hadn't escaped completely. Someone still wanted her. He walked into the med bay quietly. She was sitting by the wall, humming a soft tune she barely remembered from childhood. "Hey," he said gently. "You ever feel anything strange? Like machines near you?" She nodded. "Sometimes it's like I can hear them breathing." Kane raised a brow. "You hear machines?" She shrugged. "I don't try to. They just talk, but not in words." He stepped back, realizing something. She wasn't just part alien. She wasn't just rare. She was valuable. Her body had tech blood, the kind only seen in royal labs or ancient hybrids. Someone didn't throw her in that cage by accident. She had been hidden, and now someone was trying to get her back. He didn't tell her that night. He didn't want to scare her, but he did one thing. He took a small device from the toolkit, opened the panel on her old collar, and quietly disabled the tracking chip. When she asked what he was doing, he said only this: "You're free now, and no one's going to find you without a fight." She didn't sleep that night. She just lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling. A strange warmth sat in her chest. Not fear, not pain. Something she hadn't known before. It didn't have a name. But maybe, just maybe, it was the beginning of trust. The stars outside looked peaceful. But peace is a lie when someone's hunting you. Kane stood alone at the front window of the ship, arms folded, eyes focused on the black. The ship was in low power mode, drifting quietly between asteroid belts. No engines, no lights, just silence. He wasn't hiding from pirates, not smugglers. He was hiding from something far worse. From them, she stood behind him, quietly barefoot. Her steps were light, almost soundless. But Kane knew she was there. "You feel it too?" he asked without turning. She nodded. "They're close. I don't know how, but I feel them, like a signal." She placed her fingers on her chest, more like a pulse. Familiar, cold. Kane finally turned to look at her. "You're not crazy," he said. "They tagged you. Someone's tracking you. But it's more than that, isn't it?" She looked up, eyes wide and glowing faintly. "I think they're not just following me. I think I'm calling them." The truth hit like a punch. Her blood, part organic, part machine, was transmitting. Not by design, not by choice, it was. Waking up whatever her makers had put inside her, it wasn't dead. And now that she was healing, it was turning on. She was a beacon. And monsters follow light. Suddenly, a warning alarm buzzed once. Short, soft, Terra. Kane's co-pilot leaned into the console. "Unmarked ship, just dropped from warp. It's fast." "How fast?" "Too fast." Kane grabbed the manual controls. "Get us behind the nearest asteroid," he turned to the girl. "Go to the engine bay. Stay down. No one sees you." But she didn't move. Her voice was low. "It's them." Kane cursed under his breath. "How many?" She blinked. Her mind stretched out like a net, one ship. But inside are the ones from the pit. The ones who used to throw food at me. They're laughing. Kane looked her dead in the eyes. "I won't let them take you." Outside the window, the black market hunter ship closed in. Its hull was shaped like bone. Teeth carved along its sides. No signal. No warnings. It fired without speaking. The Ember Arc shook hard. Kane spun the controls. Weaving through the asteroid field, but the enemy wasn't chasing the ship. They were chasing her in the engine bay. She sat on the floor holding her head. Something inside her was pulsing louder and louder, like wires buzzing in her brain. "Stop," she whispered. "Please stop." Then something strange happened. The walls responded. The power grid flickered, and then shifted the ship's engines, which had stalled under enemy fire, suddenly surged back to life. Shields adjusted. Vents rerouted air. The Ember Arc fought back, not because Kane touched anything, but because she was connected now, in the cockpit. Terra shouted, "What the hell was that?" Kane smiled. "She's not just a passenger anymore." He flipped the comms. "Jin. Bae, you okay?" She answered, voice shaking but clear. "I'm helping." Kane nodded, proud. "Then let's give them a fight." The battle wasn't long, but it was brutal. The hunter ship tried to corner them against a burning moon. But every time they locked weapons, the Ember Arc twisted at impossible angles. Doors sealed on their own, fire suppression systems rerouted. Oxygen before it burned, it was like the ship had grown instinct, and behind every movement was her. The half-broken girl who once sat silent in a cage was now protecting them all. Finally, Kane found the opening. One shot right into the hunter's engine core. The explosion lit the stars. Silence followed. The Ember Arc drifted through the wreckage, scarred, but alive. Kane ran to the engine bay. She was there, knees drawn to her chest, skin glowing, hands trembling. "I didn't mean to." "Take control," she whispered. "I just didn't want them to hurt you." He kneeled beside her. "You saved us," he said. "But this is what they want. My blood, my mind, it's not mine, it belongs to them."
At?
"No," Kane said. Firmly, they built the signal. But what you do with it, that's yours. She looked up, tears in her glowing eyes. Then I want to shut it off. Kane smiled. Then we'll find a way. Outside, among the wreckage of the enemy ship, a small black device blinked once. A backup signal that sent one word back to its master. Active. Far away in a cold throne room carved from obsidian, a tall alien warlord stood over the message. His mouth curled. The girl breathes, he hissed. Prepare the next hunter, the one she won't escape. Back on the Ember Ark, the girl lay in her bunk, listening to the hum of the ship only now. It didn't sound like noise. It sounded like home, but she knew peace wouldn't last. The monsters still wanted her, but this time, she wasn't running alone. Asterisk, the ship hovered above a dead moon, hidden beneath thick clouds of ash. No one came here, no trade. Hey? No patrols. No signals, just silence. But for her, the silence wasn't empty. It was full buzzing, humming, alive. She stood alone on the viewing deck, her hand pressed against the glass. Her silver eyes stared into the stars, but her mind was somewhere else. She could hear them, not voices, not words, but patterns, whispers, and light. Energy in motion. Every signal out there, every satellite pulse beacon, dying star, it all moved. Like music only she could feel, and for the first time in her life, she wasn't afraid of it. Kane entered quietly, carrying a cup of warm broth. Still can't sleep? He asked. She shook her head. The stars are speaking. He gave a small smile and handed her the drink. What are they saying? She tilted her head, listening again. They're calling to someone, she said. Not me. Someone else. Something. Watching. Kane's smile faded. How far away? She closed her eyes. Her mind drifted past the moons, through dark space, reaching, touching static trails like threads, then suddenly sharp pain. She gasped and clutched her head. Kane caught her before she collapsed. What happened? She whispered, He's close. The one who made me bleed. Kane helped her to a seat. The warlord. She nodded. He's looking through the stars. For me, he has my code, but he can't find me. Not yet. Kane took a deep breath. Then, let's make sure he never does. Later that day, they landed on an abandoned research outpost. Half buried beneath layers of volcanic dust, Kane remembered it from a mission years ago, no longer active, but still shielded. Inside, the girl still. Not used to her new name, Lyra found things that made her heart race. Old terminals, broken labs, something else. Humming faintly in the walls, she touched a ruined console, and it flickered back to life. No one had touched it in years, but it woke for her. Kane stood nearby, watching carefully. Your power's growing fast, he said. Lyra nodded. The machines. Listen now, not just respond. They listen. She touched the screen again and accessed old files no one else could open. Kane stared. You're not just syncing, you're unlocking encrypted tech. Lyra hesitated. It's because of what? They put inside me. You mean the implants? She shook her head. No, something older. Something born in me, not built. Kane knelt beside her. You think they were studying you long before the arena? Lyra looked at him serious. They weren't studying me. They were hiding me from someone worse. That night, Kane gave her a data band. Old, scratched, but functional. What's this? She asked. Something to hold your name, he said. It's yours now. She stared at it, Lyra. Her real name? Not it. Not half-breed. Not thing. She put it on slowly and something shifted inside her. For the first time, she felt like she existed. But peace didn't last. The outpost's motion sensor flickered red. Kane checked the screen. Unidentified signal. Ground level. One life form. Lyra stood beside him. She whispered, I know that heartbeat. They ran to the front gate and found a boy no older than 10, malnourished, terrified, alone. Kane picked him up gently. Where are your parents? The boy couldn't speak. But Lyra placed a hand on his chest and closed her eyes, then opened them wide with shock. He escaped. From the same warlord, she said. Kane looked at her. There are others? Yes, she said, trembling. He's collecting children like me. In the medbay, as the boy slept, Kane sat beside her. You don't have to carry this alone, he said. I do, she replied. He wants me. If I run, more will die. No, Kane said firmly. If we run smart, we make him show his face. On our terms. She stared at him. You'd fight him? I've fought worse, he said with a crooked grin. But Lyra saw the truth in his eyes. He was scared, but he would fight anyway later. Lyra returned to the viewing deck. She placed her hand on the glass again, but this time she didn't listen. Passively, she spoke. Through her thoughts, through her skin. Through every spark of energy flowing in her blood, she sent a message. Small, hidden, quiet, to anyone like her, to anyone still caged. You are not broken. You are not alone. I hear you, and across the stars, someone answered. A faint echo, a child's voice, soft, afraid, but real. And Lyra smiled, in a dark ship orbiting a shattered moon. The warlord stood over a screen. The signal had changed. She wasn't hiding anymore. She was calling out, his lips curled. She dares. He tapped a button. Deploy the hounds. Burn every signal she sends, and bring her to me, alive. Back on the Ember Arc, Lyra whispered to the stars, Come, if you want. I'm not afraid of you anymore. The night sky burned orange over the broken ridge. Smoke curled from the side of the outpost. A crater smoldered where the perimeter shield once stood. Wind howled through the ruins. And somewhere in that ash-covered valley, the warlord had arrived. His ship didn't roar. It hissed black and silent, like a scar across the stars. No flag. No name. Only one message repeated across all open channels. Returned the girl. Lyra stood at the front of the bunker, her bare feet on cracked stone, wind whipping her cloak. Her glowing eyes stared into the storm below. She felt him. Not just his presence, but his pull. Like gravity. Like poison in the wind, Kane stood behind her, holding a blaster. His face was tight, his hands tense, but his voice steady. We still have time. We can run. Lyra shook her head. He'll follow. He always follows. Kane nodded. Then, we fight. Below the ridge, the warlord stepped onto the dust. He was tall, twice the size of a human. Armor made from bone and metal. A half-mask covered his mouth. His voice came through like broken glass. You were made to obey, girl. Lyra didn't blink. I was made to survive. The warlord raised one hand. A pulse wave surged up the hill. Explosions rocked the outpost. Shield walls cracked. Kane was thrown to the ground. Lyra stood firm, her fingers curled. The power inside her burned like fire. But this time, she didn't hold it back. The warlord's soldiers stormed the ridge. Clawed creatures. Synthetic hunters. Drones with red eyes. Kane fired fast, taking down two before ducking behind cover. Lyra shouted, "Down! Would be a great time to show them you're not scared." She stepped forward. Her voice rose not. Loud, not angry, just calm. You wanted to break me? The sky darkened. Wind turned cold. Lights across the ridge began to flicker. You said I was flawed. The machines stopped moving. They twitched, glitched, powered down one by one. Lead. Lyra lifted both hands and everything stopped. The warlord's ship powered down midair and crashed into the valley. His drones dropped dead. His beasts turned on each other, confused and blind. And he stood frozen as his own armor short-circuited. Lyra walked toward him slowly as sparks flew from the sky. Kane watched from behind the rocks, stunned. She's doing all of this, not with weapons. Not with hate, with will. She wasn't fighting to destroy him. She was fighting to free herself. The warlord pulled off. His cracked mask. His face was scarred, jaw plated with steel. His voice came raw and ragged. You were mine, he growled. I gave you strength. You gave me pain, Lyra answered. And I turned it into power. You think this makes you free? No, she whispered. I make me free. He rushed her, even without his suit. He was strong, faster than any human. But Lyra didn't run. She reached out, touched his chest and shut everything down. His heartbeat slowed. His legs gave way. He dropped to his knees. She didn't kill him. She simply erased his control. He looked up at her, eyes full of hate and confusion. I created you, he gasped. No, she said softly. You caged me. There's a difference. The ridge went quiet. The dust settled. The power in her hands dimmed, and for the first time since she had left the cage, Lyra let herself cry. Not because she was scared, not because she was weak, but because she was free. Cain came to her side, bruised but smiling. You okay? He asked. She nodded. I didn't want to destroy him. Cain looked down at the warlord, now unconscious, powerless. You didn't, he said. You chose not to. She looked up at him. Is that what strength really is? Yeah, he replied. It's not what you can break, it's what you protect. They buried the warlord's control unit under the ashes of the valley. No cameras, no celebration, just quiet. Because heroes don't always need applause. Sometimes they just need peace. That night, under the stars, Lyra sat alone. Her hands still, glowed faintly, but now she wasn't afraid of the light. Cain brought her a new banda symbol crafted from metal pulled from the wreck. It's yours, he said. To remind you who you are. She placed it on her wrist. It hummed gently, not like a command, like a promise. Somewhere far away, others like her still trapped, still hidden felt a change. A pulse in the stars, a quiet whisper. One of us fought back, and hope began to grow. Asterisk sunlight touched the edge of the outpost for the first time in years, no longer buried in ash, no longer hidden in shadows. This broken place was alive again, and at the heart of it stood a girl once called a weapon. Now they called her Lyra. She walked through the halls barefoot, her cloak trailing behind her. Drones floated overhead, carrying parts, rewiring old systems. Children ran past, her laughing, chasing, playing with makeshift toys made from scrap. The outpost had become something new, a refuge, a place where the broken were not thrown away, but rebuilt. And Lyra was the reason Cain leaned against a support beam, arms crossed, watching her as she spoke gently to a wounded alien boy. You've never seen her smile this much. Tara whispered beside him. Cain nodded. She was never given a reason before. They had sent a signal 2 days ago, a message. To nearby colonies, coded and safe. If you're running, come. If you're hunted, hide here. If you feel lost, you're home. The first to arrive was a small freighter packed with orphaned children. Then came engineers, scavengers, a rebel, pilot, even a former Empire medic. Each one had a story. Each one had nowhere to go. Now they had Lyra. In the center of the compound, she worked on a massive domain energy field generator using parts she had found from the warlord's wreck. The others called it impossible. But when Lyra placed her hand on the core, it hummed to life, responding only to her. Cain walked over, wiping his hands on a cloth. So, you're turning war tech into a shield? Lyra smiled. I'm done breaking things. At night, the stars above seemed closer. The children sat around old crates, listening to Lyra's stories, not tales of war, but of wonder. She spoke of glowing trees from her homeworld, of starships shaped like birds, of music made from wind and glass. Most didn't believe the places were real, but when Lyra closed her eyes, she could still see them, not in memories, in hope. Still, she knew the danger wasn't over. The Empire hadn't responded. No threats. No patrols. Which was worse than war. Silence meant planning, and Lyra could feel it somewhere beyond the stars. This thing was watching again. She could hear a quiet rhythm in her bones, like a storm waiting to speak. Cain found her on the roof late. One night, she sat with her knees pulled close, staring into the dark sky. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded, just listening. To what? The quiet between signals. Kane sat beside her. "You're scared." "I'm not scared for me," she said. "I'm scared for all of them. The Empire attacks again, they'll burn everything. Like before." Kane looked out at the growing lights of the camp makeshift homes, solar lamps, laughter echoing in the halls. "They're not like before," he said. "They have you now." She placed her hand on the rooftop metal. It vibrated softly under her touch, not as a machine, as a living thing. And then, quietly, she whispered, "I won't let them take this from me." The next morning, Lyra activated the dome shield. A soft blue light rippled into the sky, covering the compound in a protective field. But it wasn't just a wall. It was a live responsive to emotions, to intent. The children gathered and touched. It didn't push them back. It welcomed them. Kane ran diagnostics. "It's the most adaptive tech I've ever seen," he said. "It learns. It remembers." Lyra smiled. "Just like me." As days passed, more people arrived, not just broken ones. Fighters, builders, believers. And Lyra greeted each one not as a leader, but as someone who once needed saving, and now saved others. Late one evening, a message came through on a private channeled VOM, an Empire defector. The voice was shaky. "You don't know me, but I saw what you did. I saw the warlord fall. The Empire is scared, not of your power, but your kindness." Lyra's eyes welled up, not with fear, with fire. Kane looked at her and said, "So what now?" She stood tall, voice steady. "Now we prepare." She walked into the heart of the camp, where broken machines waited, and she began fixing them not with fear, but with purpose, because she finally understood what she was made. For not to destroy, not to obey, but to build, to heal, to protect. And, across the stars, whispers rose again. Not about a weapon, but about a girl with glowing hands, who turned ruins into sanctuary, and silence into strength. The sky was too quiet. No wind, no signal noise, just stillness before something terrible. Lyra stood at the edge of the compound's shield wall, staring out at the horizon. She could feel it, not in her ears, in her bones. A fleet was coming, big fast Empire. "They found us," Kane said, stepping up beside her. He was holding a blaster, but his voice didn't shake. 5 ships, maybe more." Lyra didn't blink. "They won't talk. They never do." She turned to face him. "Then we won't answer." Kane looked at her. "This one's starving." Girl from a cage who now stood like Steeland nodded. "Then we hold." The outpost scrambled. Children were moved underground. Shields were reinforced. Fighters climbed into old mechs patched with scraps. They weren't soldiers, but they were ready. Because of her, the ships arrived like thunder, dark, silent, painted in the Empires. Crimson mark, they circled above, weapons hot, and from the lead cruiser came a voice, cold, synthetic. "You are harboring property of the Empire? Surrender the hybrid known as Lyra." Kane clicked the comms. "She's not property. Surrender, or be erased."
Lyra stepped up to the console
and calmly replied, "Then erase us." The channel cut, and the sky exploded. Missiles struck the shield. Plasma bolts rained down. The earth shook, but the shield held. She held it. Lyra stood inside the control chamber, eyes closed, palms pressed against the core. The generator thrummed. In time with her pulse, she wasn't just powering the shield. She was the shield. Outside, Kane led the defenders. Rusty turrets fired. Ground units ducked and moved. Air smelled of smoke and melted metal. Still, they fought. Because behind them, she stood. And in the middle of the sky, something changed. The Empire's second cruiser began to fall, systems shut down mid-air. Kane looked up. That wasn't us. Lyra's voice echoed across the comms. "I'm in their systems now. All of them." Inside the Empire fleet, chaos broke out. Engines refused to start. Doors locked on their own. Navigation crashed. Lyra's mind had reached into their code quiet. invisible, and began rewriting it, not to destroy, to expose. She played the Empire's own. Eternal recordings across their command channels, slaves crying in cages, children with tracking collars, her own heartbeat, slowing in that dark pit. The truth bled across every signal. Far away, rebel factions intercepted the stream, so did neutral worlds. Hidden colonies, smugglers, forgotten outposts, everyone saw it. The girl they called flawed was fighting back with truth. And suddenly, the war wasn't about her anymore, it was about all of them. Kane shouted over the comms weave. Got ships coming in known signatures? Lyra looked to the sky. At first, she thought they were more enemies, but then she heard them. This is Haven 9. We received the signal. We're here to fight. This is Free Arcadia. We stand with the girl. This is Ember Watch. No more cages. Dozens of ships. Not military. We're not rich. Free people. They weren't organized. But they came with fire. The Empire fleet panicked. Lyra opened every hidden port, locked every sealed door. She didn't give commands. She just gave access to truth, to freedom, to choice, and one by one. Pilots defected, an Empire tech shut down her own cruiser, an officer broadcast a surrender, and in less than 1 hour, the Empire ships withdrew. Not beaten by fire, but by the girl who wouldn't. Run anymore? Kane sat down in the dust, covered in ash. Laughing through his bruises. She did it, he whispered. Lyra exited the control room slowly, breathing hard. Her hands were shaking. Her body was weak, but her eyes burned. Around her, people cheered. They didn't see a weapon. They saw a girl who'd changed everything. Later that night, stars blinked quietly above. Lyra stood on the outpost roof again. No. Ships chasing her, no chains on her arms, just the wind. And Kane beside her. You're not the same girl I found in that cage, he said. She smiled. That girl died a long time ago. No, he said gently. She was reborn. Across the galaxy, stories began to spread. Not of battles, not of war, but of one girl. A girl with silver eyes and glowing hands. A girl who heard the stars. A girl who wasn't born to fight, but to free. And in the old records of the Empire one, file stayed locked. Subject, Lyra status, uncontrollable threat level, beyond classification recommendation, do not engage but. It was too late. The galaxy had already made their choice. They followed her now, not because she was powerful, because she gave them something no empire ever could. Hope.